Let us begin by reading the word problem out loud. A large-sized bag contains 360 more jelly beans than a medium-sized bag of jelly beans. If there are 1,200 jelly beans in a large-sized bag, how many jelly beans are there in a medium-sized bag? Now, the first step in our strategy for problem solving is always to analyze the problem. Once we analyze a problem, we're able to know what our variable or our unknown is going to represent. In this case, the question to be answered is how many jelly beans are there in a medium-sized bag? So that's the question we want to answer. That is the unknown because we do not know the value for the number of jelly beans in a medium-sized bag. So that's going to be our variable. Again, we can use any letter of the alphabet. I'm just going to go ahead and use the letter X. So our variable X is going to represent the number of jelly beans that are in a medium-sized bag, again, because that is a question that we want to answer. Therefore, that is the number we want to find. Now, let us analyze the sentences a little bit more in detail. What else do we know? Well, ideally, there's two size bags we're talking about. There's a large-sized bag and a medium-sized bag. We know that a large-sized bag contains 364 more jelly beans than a medium-sized bag of jelly beans. And we also know that there are 1,200 jelly beans in a large-sized bag. So let's go ahead and draw a picture here. So ideally we have two bags. We have a large-sized bag and we have a medium-sized bag. So the large-sized bag is definitely bigger than the medium-sized bag. So the medium-sized bag has about that height. And the question is, how much bigger is the large-sized bag than the medium-sized bag? Well, if we wanted them to be the same size, we would have to fill this in. This missing portion right here. Now the question is, do we know how many jelly beans we need to fill it in with? We actually do. In the first sentence, it says that a large-sized bag contains 360 more jelly beans than a medium-sized bag of jelly beans. So this quantity that we're missing is 360. So if we were to add 360 jelly beans to the medium-sized bag, it would be the same size as the large bag. However, how many jelly beans are in a large bag? Luckily for us, we also know that quantity. The second sentence says, if there are 1,200 jelly beans in a large-sized bag. Therefore, a large-sized bag contains 1,200 jelly beans. So the question is, what should our equation look like? Well, for the most part, we know that the large-sized bag of jelly beans is equal to the number of jelly beans in the medium-sized bag plus the 360 required to add up to the total number of jelly beans in the large-sized bag. So our equation is going to have the following form. So the number of jelly beans in the large bag is going to be equal to the number of jelly beans in the medium bag plus the difference in size. So let's go ahead and color code this. Number of jelly beans in the large bag. Well, we represented that in the word problem with red. So we'll go ahead and color that red. The number of jelly beans in medium bag, we don't know that. That is our unknown quantity that we want to find. We represented it with the letter X, which we color coded in blue. So let's go ahead and color code that in blue as well. And the difference in size. Well, we know from the first sentence that the large-sized bag contains 360 more jelly beans than the medium-sized bag, and that was represented in red, so we'll go ahead and color code that in red. So there we go. That's what our equation should look like for the most part. Now let's go ahead and fill things in. So the number of jelly beans in a large bag, we know that to be 1,200. And that's equal to the number of jelly beans in the medium bag, which is our unknown quantity X, plus the difference in size, which is 360, given by the word problem. So let us go ahead and solve the equation. Again, we always want to start off with the original equation found in step 3. So 1,200 equals x plus 360. What it means to solve equation is ideally we want to isolate the x variable. So we want to get it by itself on one side of the equation. So the goal is to isolate this variable right here. It is on the right-hand side of the equal sign. What else is on the right-hand side of the equal sign is the plus 360. So if we want to get the x by itself, we have to eliminate this plus 360 that is on the same side. So we're adding 360 to x. The opposite operation of addition is subtraction. So we're going to have to subtract 360 from both sides. So we're going to have 1,200 is equal to x plus 360. And as stated, we're going to have to subtract 360 from both sides of the equation. How does that help us? Well, we have a plus 360 and a minus 360, so they cancel each other out. Therefore, on the right-hand side, we're left with just x. And on the left-hand side, we have to simplify 1,200 minus 360. So we'll go ahead and do that off to the side as scratch work. 1,200 minus 360. So 0 minus 0 gives us 0. We have to do 0 minus 6 now. We can't do that since the 0 is less than 6. So the 0 is going to have to borrow from the 2. The 2 now becomes a 1. And our 0 now becomes a 10. So we have 10 minus 6, which is 4. Now we want to do the third column. So 1 minus 3. The 1 is less than the 3, so the 1 needs to borrow from the 1 next door. That 1 becomes a 0, and our 1 becomes a 10. Correction, our 1 becomes an 11. So we're going to have 11 minus 3 now, and that's going to be 8. So 1,200 minus 360 is equal to 840. So x equals 840. So now let us state our conclusion in a statement. So the question was, how many jelly beans are there in a medium-sized bag? And therefore, we now know that there are 840 jelly beans in a medium-sized bag. So the last step is to check the result. So again, when checking the result, you want to start off with the equation you created in step 3. That is 1,200 equals x plus 360. However, now we know that x is equal to 840, so we're going to go ahead and substitute that in. 1,200, we're just going to bring that down, and x equals 840, and that's plus 360. On the left-hand side, we can't simplify it any further, so we're just going to bring that down. And on the right hand side, we have to sum up 840 and 360, so we'll do that off at scratch work to the side. 840 plus 360. 0 plus 0 gives us 0. 4 plus 6 gives us 10. We'll bring down the 0 and kick up the 1. Then we have 1 plus 8 plus 3. That's going to give us 12. So 840 plus 360 is 1,200. Now the question is 1,200 equal to 1,200? It is indeed. Since we have a true statement, our solution is correct.